On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, the sleeping giant of the senior real estate world. So welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Sean Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and welcome back remotely today, your financial coach, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
Dude, I am doing well. Happy days are ahead of us. I got to say the one thing, my friend, purchasing a house can be such an ordeal. And a lot of patience for my wife and I. I'll give you a quick story itself. We're building a home out here in Florida. It's very exciting. But when the builder, the loan officer, and the title company are not talking to each other, that can be a problem.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Unfortunately,
so
that
we were
happens
supposed
more
to
often
close, right? It was supposed to close, I think, on for our time here, like a Wednesday. We ended up the builder was like, I mean, we didn't even have a sink in the kitchen, and we're like, yeah, we're closing tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're closing tomorrow. That's not going to happen. So we're in the midst of a lot of patience and a lot of communication gaffes that we're dealing with. But I got to say, very excited. I'm hoping that we all can settle in the house before Christmas, for the time of this recording itself. So from a holiday standpoint, but it's can be very stressful. So I would recommend a lot of patience when purchasing a home and building a home. Doesn't matter if you're getting into a new place.
Yeah,
but I'm excited to not pay rent, brother. That's what I'm
so you haven't quite closed just yet.
No, are you kidding me? If I don't have a sink, I'm not closing.
Some people want everything. God.
What do you need a sink for?
Kind of need a sink. As much as I like to, I don't like doing dishes. I think having a sink in the house is probably important.
So I will tell this story as a total joke. It is a total joke. I do not feel this way, but it was just funny in the moment. When I bought my first house, not the house I'm in now, but when I bought my first house single, we were going through, I was going through the house with my realtors, and we put the offer in, and after we put the offer in, I said to my realtors, well, wait a minute, don't we need to do, we need to make sure we do our inspections. We need to make sure this, that, the other thing. Well, ends up, the house was so old. It was built so long ago, it didn't have a dishwasher in it.
Okay.
So I was washing everything by hand. And so then I started dating my wife. And then I had decided I'm going to buy and put in a dishwasher. And I forget exactly how the conversation came up, but I was talking to somebody, and they were like, you're putting in a dishwasher? I'm like, yeah, I'm tired of the old model. Meaning my wife. Washing my dishes by hand.
All right,
we're going to edit this out of the show because if not, he's going to be in trouble for a very long time.
Every woman that listens to the show is tuned out.
Too funny. Funny.
But we have another guest on this week, a repeat guest, a returning guest. He was on an episode. Three-time, actually.
Three-time.
Yeah, so
okay, there you go.
Episode 120 was safely using a reverse mortgage. Episode 384, the secret to moving forward in reverse. Our guest this week, and we'll talk about this week's episode number in a bit, but our guest this week is Michael Banner. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you for having me back. I love doing this.
Yeah, so, I'll kind of abbreviate your introduction from before. A licensed mortgage professional since 1982. 15 years ago, started focusing on assisting the senior segment of the industry as they approach retirement or were already in retirement. Longer lifespans can sometimes be a double-edged sword, so your specialty is helping seniors with reverse mortgages. You're a nationally known speaker, published author, educator for more than 20,000 financial planners, independent financial advisors, long-term care insurance agents, attorneys, and realtors on the topic of using home equity during retirement. You had your own television show. You're starting up another podcast show all about reverse mortgages. So welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Although the podcast is not going to be like the TV show, not all about reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgages are definitely an excellent tool, when used the right way. But really the podcast and the television show, but more the podcast, is really going to be about what you mentioned earlier, that double-edged sword of longer lifespans. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You come to Florida, or like a lot of people do, we're the retirement capital of the country. You want to retire in your early to mid 60s, and with thanks to technology and science and medical breakthroughs of the last 20, 30 years specifically, the odds are damn good you're making it into your 90s. So, the world isn't set up for you to retire and have enough money in the bank to live half the time that you've already lived. You're in your 60s, you might live another 25 or 30 years. So this double-edged sword of longer lifespans, people need to start really closely paying attention to it, because unless you have a 7-figure bank account, and most of us don't, this is going to hurt.
Yeah. Well, and so we're going to talk about something a little bit different later today in the episode, but one of the things I wanted to bring up, so after we recorded our last episode, I had the opportunity to try to refer somebody to you, and it didn't quite work out. But one of the things that I think even was still a myth, what is the interaction or what is the play between someone's credit score and their ability to get a reverse mortgage?
Great question. We're the only mortgage in the country that is not credit score driven. Yes, your credit score comes up on your credit report in today's world, but it is of no value to a reverse mortgage lender. What a reverse mortgage lender mostly cares about is your credit in the last 2 years. Now, I'll take that even further. More than that, have you paid your real estate taxes and homeowners insurance in the last 2 years? Because in a reverse mortgage, there is no monthly principal and interest payment. And contrary to what you may read or what our detractors say out there is no way in the world to lose your home when you have a reverse mortgage, unless you don't pay your taxes and insurance, which any lender will take your house if you don't pay your taxes. In fact, the county or the state will take your house if you have no mortgage, if you don't pay your taxes eventually.
Right.
So, and truthfully, unless it was 2 people, of course we can't mention names, for privacy, but somebody that directly came from the last time I was here, we closed on about 6 weeks later, and
nice.
Yeah, absolutely, eliminated their mortgage payment, got them a credit line for, if I remember, about 60 G's. I mean, there was, like always, there was hugs at closing going, Mike, you changed our lives here. So it's a great product when used correctly, like everything else.
Like anything else, yeah. So we spent the last couple of episodes talking a lot about when someone wants to use a reverse mortgage as a refinance.
Mm-hmm.
I've got debt. I need to pull equity. I need to pull cash out of my house. I need to get rid of this monthly mortgage payment that I'm making. But the reason we wanted to have you back, the other thing I wanted to talk about was you can use, or someone can use, a reverse mortgage to buy a house.
I can, because I'm old, but yes, you have to be. So yes, you were right the first time. I can.
Well, I've got it's 62 is the age at least right now.
Yes.
So I've got I've got 11 years and 2 weeks before I can use it.
I would say let's make an appointment, but if I'm not retired in 11 years and 2 weeks, then well, you're an attorney.
Right.
I give you legal permission to shoot me.
Okay.
Just please put me out of my misery.
I still think it's illegal to shoot someone, but
even with permission?
But I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. In 2009, early 2009, as part of HERA, the Housing Economic Recovery Act, introduced by President Bush, signed into law by President Obama, that 11,000 bill that was going to save America. We won't go into how that worked, but be that as it may, there was in that 11,000 page bill a 12-page codicil that created the HECM for purchase, the purchase reverse mortgage, literally created for people 62 years old and above to purchase a home using a reverse mortgage, so they have no principal and interest payment for the rest of their lives. Until that congressional act, people would buy a house for cash. Of course, then they'd realize, oh my God, I just used all my cash. Let's go get a reverse mortgage and get some of that cash back. Well, what does that create? 2 sets of closing costs, 2 appraisals, 2 title policies. So this enacted something that at the closing table, it's a purchase mortgage, but it's a purchase reverse mortgage. And truthfully, at the time, there were Nobel Prize winners in economics saying that this was going to change the way seniors retire in this country. The ability to maintain some liquidity, not put up all your money, still have no payment, and it just never went over. I mean, it's the big flop of the reverse mortgage industry.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, my reverse mortgage brothers and sisters are not going to like this answer because I do this a lot, and I get not hate emails, but why did you say that, Banner? Because the reverse mortgage industry doesn't know how to do business with realtors. The reverse mortgage industry, my great reverse mortgage brothers and sisters are wonderful people. They're ex-title people. They're ex-psychologists. They're ex-therapists. They're ex-school teachers. They like sitting in a living room and talking about problems and solving those problems. They're wonderful people. Now it's the part where I piss off the realtors. They're not used to dealing with type A personalities that call you at 11 o'clock in the morning and say, I have a lead for you, and then call you back at noon and go, well, are we clear to close? When are we closing? Well, the house needs
Sounds
a new
familiar.
roof. I don't care. It needs a new roof. When are we closing? Well, and of course I'm exaggerating, but realtors are like me. They're mortgage people. They're type A personalities. Let's make it happen now, and you have to be in front of them, and like any other sales group, you have to participate with them and you have to work with them. And the reverse mortgage industry to this day just sucks at that. So that many people say the purchase reverse mortgage has failed the industry, and I've always come back the last 14 years and said no, the reverse mortgage industry has failed the purchase reverse mortgage. It's one of the reasons why I went out self-plug here 10 years ago and became the first person in the state to be approved by FREC and the Florida Department of Regulation to teach a 3-hour CE class to realtors on this, how to sell a home to people 62 and above without them having the obligation of a principal and interest payment. And unfortunately, due to things being so bad in the country, inflation being so out of hand, now the purchase reverse mortgage is getting some incredible national attention when people moving to whatever state they want to retire in. Of course, let's use Florida, the retirement capital of the country. And they say to their realtor, okay, I just sold my house in Pennsylvania or Cleveland or Michigan, and I have $500,000, and it's my retirement house. I want to pay cash. I want to have no payments, and I want to live near a golf course or on a golf course, and I want to be kind of close to the Gulf of Mexico, and I want this and I want that. And the realtor has to look mom and dad or grandma and grandpa in the eye and say, I'm sorry, I know you have $500,000 cash, but if you want to live in East Lake Woodlands or Countryside or Palm Harbor or Landmark Estates or Feather Sound or any part of Tampa Bay, the house you're describing is closer to $750,000. That's inflation today. And it just crushes the senior. It just does. And to be talking about this, the three of us, to say that a $500,000 house can't get that nice of a house anymore, that in itself, it comes close to sad and deplorable. I hate to use that word, deplorable. But this is the ability to say to that senior, you know what? You put up $500,000. A reverse mortgage lender will put up the other $250,000. Now you have your dream retirement home, and we've still met your goal of no monthly payments.
No monthly payments. So, but there's still the actuarial tables. There's still, so in other words, someone couldn't use a reverse mortgage to finance 100% of a home.
No, in fact, higher rates have hurt reverse mortgage loan amounts terribly. Right now, you're probably looking, if you're in your early 60s to late 60s, when most people are trying to retire, you're probably looking at about 32%. But when you do the math backwards, when you tell somebody that owns a home, and is doing a traditional reverse, I'm sorry, I can only lend you about a third of what your house is worth. It's, oh my God, that's not enough, Mr. Banner. We'll call you back some other time. But when you do the math, when you tell somebody, and I'm going to lower the numbers, that has $400,000 cash from their recent sale, that they can buy a $600,000 house, you're increasing their purchase price 50%, but the ultimate loan to value is 30%.
Right.
So again, the exciting part to the senior and quite frankly the realtors to be able to sell 50% more house and make a friend, and again, without being corny. Well, selling somebody their dream retirement home.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the benefit to the agents here is that you've increased their commission because they're now able to sell a higher priced house.
Literally 50%. We're not going to go over real estate commissions because that's not professional, but no matter what business you're in, if somebody said to you, hey, whatever your fees you charge, we're going to let you increase that 50%, but it won't come from the client. Don't worry.
Right.
Your client's not paying it because the buyer doesn't pay real estate fees, the seller does. So, I mean, this is win-win for the community, for seniors, and it's just sad that, I mean, let's just face it, the price of real estate, and I mean, let's just drill down, go into Publix. I mean, money is just ridiculous right now, and it's hurting seniors on fixed income much more than it's hurting us who still work and
We just, I remember in my homeowners association, we just voted to increase the annual assessment. Now, it didn't go up much. It went from $320 up to $360 or something. It didn't go up a lot. But a large reason that it went up, I mean, this is the largest jump. I've been now in our community for 11 years, 12 years. This is the largest, this $40 jump is the largest jump we've had in the last 11, 12 years. And a big reason for it was insurance has gone up.
Insurance.
And all the other things that go into owning a house have all gone up.
That's such a small increase. It must be a large.
It is. It's a large. I live in West Chase.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're having a rash of reverse mortgage requests from condominium owners.
Right.
And condominiums are a little harder for FHA, so it's a little bit more of a challenge. But I mean, when I say a rash, the biggest rash of condo people going, help, we need a reverse mortgage, because their HOA fees are doubling because of insurance.
I talked to a lady last night who was asking me questions about bankruptcy, and her challenge was she tried a reverse mortgage. Her husband had passed away, and so now all she's left with is her Social Security and some of his Social Security from the survivor benefit.
Right.
He did not die with a life insurance policy. She had special assessments against the condo that she had to put on credit cards. Now she can't pay that back. And one of my first thoughts was a reverse mortgage. The challenge with her reverse mortgage is, what she said, is that her condo didn't meet FHA lending guidelines.
That's right.
Which disqualified her from a reverse mortgage.
It's so sad, but and the guidelines are easy. When you talk to some people, oh my God, it's so hard to get a condo approved. What FHA wants to see is a few basic things. We have to collect a ton of paper, a few basic things, that at least 70% of the project is owner occupied, because investor projects tend not to be taken care of that well. And of course, owner occupied also counts vacation homes. So if snowbirds are using it 6 months a year, that's owner occupied. So they want to see that 70% of the project is owner occupied. They want to make sure they have enough liability insurance, regardless of the cost of it. They want to make sure if somebody drowns in the pool or trips on the shuffleboard court or accidentally hits their head on a bocce ball or
pickleball.
Pickleball, that's it.
Pickleball,
they want to have the proper insurance.
Blows out a hip playing pickleball.
Oh, it's just ridiculous, those hip surgeries. HOA should cover hip surgeries. But the main thing that hurts is the 10% cash reserve. And this is a rule that's been around for 50 years. If you have, I'm doing easy numbers, 10 units in your HOA and your condo association fees are $50 a month, 10 times 50 is 500, times 12 months is 6,000. They want to make sure you have $600, 10% of your annual fees,
right,
as cash reserves for that crack in the pool or that elevator that doesn't work, or God forbid, a new roof. So When you
Right.
have hundreds of units and it's $350 a month, that 10% is 50 grand, 80 grand. And unfortunately, due to COVID, and I'm still blaming things on that, but due to COVID and due to the economic situation, so many people fell behind on their HOA that's what's crippling most FHA condo approvals, cash reserves.
Well, and then now you factor in Surfside, where a condo unit that's over 3 stories high has to have a specific amount of reserves, has to have the specific reserve studies, and now those reserve studies are increasing the amount of reserves because of inflation.
That's right.
It's all feeding on itself.
Yeah, these new rules. This could probably be another podcast with a condo expert, which is not me. I know my basic, how to get your FHA approval. But these new rules that are coming for condos could really, and most people don't realize, I don't want to cause a panic, could crush the condo industry for the foreseeable future. People in condos may have trouble selling their condos because of these new features. People buying condos are going to have problems getting a mortgage. Again, not to sound the alarm, but there are some big people out there going, the condominium world's going to be cash buyers only. If you need a mortgage, you better go buy something else as these new rules come.
Although at some point, you figure, regardless of political leaning, at some point you got to figure the government comes in and says, we've got to help try to fix this. We've got to help loosen the standards. We've got to help do something.
You'd think
Something's
that if the
gotta come from
government,
it. I agree with you
you
there.
obviously have more confidence in our government.
I have
than
no
do.
confidence in our government.
No
remember
confidence that you're hoping that they will.
Other than they'll
That's-
be reactive and do
Yeah,
something.
and remember,
Exactly.
these are rules from HUD, and I love this. I've been saying it for years. Remember, HUD spelled backwards. Duh. So you got to be nationally aware of spelling HUD backwards.
It was I was surfing around the internet the other day, and I do believe in Reagan's quote that he said, hello, we're from the government, we're here to help. The what I saw on social media was some other current congressperson quoting that as a positive, where I know Reagan meant it as
he
a
was being
negative.
very
He was
sarcastic.
being sarcastic about it. But I truly believe in the sarcastic point of view of,
Well,
hi, we're here from the government, we're here to help.
and even when I had the TV show and when I start my new podcast, I leaned against from, trying to let my audience know where I lean politically, because no matter where you are, you're
You're going to make
you're-
half of them upset. You're
yeah.
gonna make half
And
your
so,
listeners upset.
but in my new podcast, I'm not going to lean away from that because I truly believe. I'm 65 years old. I said I believe this for about 7 or 8 years. Both sides of the aisle are so dangerously dishonest. They do not have our well-being. So I'm not gonna annoy any part. I'm gonna be an equal opportunity
Oh, yeah.
offender. I have no trust in what's out there now. And for a 65-year-old man who was brought up by a greatest generation, World War
Right.
II father, I bleed red, white, and blue. You don't like my country? Get the hell out. I still feel that way. I love this country. It's the best country in the history of history. I mean,
Right.
that's just it. But we're in very bad shape and we're very divided. And it comes from a dishonest government that's not looking out for us on either side of the aisle. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without getting
Another podcast for sure.
definitely another podcast for sure. But yeah, I for a long time I've kind of felt like the goal of any politician is to get reelected.
Yeah.
But regardless, anyway,
Regardless, but we still have to sell homes to people 62 years old.
We
and
still
above
we
with
still
no
have
payments.
to have a safety net between the ages of 65 and 95. So that's what
and
we
there
gotta
is
figure
so
out.
many things. I mean, again, and this is, I don't know. Do you ever do multiple guests on your podcast?
I have had podcasts where we've had multiple guests.
It would be fun to zoom in, literally a long-term care national
Right.
expert. I'm not talking a salesman. I'm talking a national speaker expert, which I could help you with. And in-home care. I mean, there are just so many services out there from 62 to 90. You put it perfectly, George. And the world thinks, oh, you got to be rich to afford that. And no, you don't. There are vehicles out there for that, again, that retired school teacher, that wonderful police officer, that retired. You don't have to be rich to have all the great things that the rich people have, but there's just no real platform saying to mom and dad at 65, yes, you can use your home equity. Yes, you could do this. Yes, you could do that. Yes, you can have long-term care insurance. And again, I'd love to do a podcast, with you one day with some other experts. Because,
Symposium idea. That's what I'm
There
hearing.
you go.
yeah, and it's sad to think about, especially again, I even though COVID is in the rearview mirror, but when you get done with all the, the statistics that depending on what side of the aisle you are on, this is how many people died. This is they shouldn't, masks are good, masks are not good. When you separate that crap, the great majority of people that died in Florida were not only in their 70s and 80s, but they were in facilities.
Yeah.
And the people that could afford to get care at home, they didn't die. They just didn't. Some of them did. But the people in facilities, and this is no insult to the facilities and the great, healthcare places that we have in Florida, they thought they were doing the right thing by locking the doors when everybody quarantined. And let's face it, hindsight's 2020, they created a petri dish of bacteria and everybody
Right.
died. And they died without their loved ones. The loved ones were looking through a glass window. It sounds like an ABC special, but this is real life in America.
Right.
And yet, again, long-term care insurance, and let me disclose, I do not have an insurance license. I am not selling it, but the people that had long-term care insurance that could
I have a
afford
friend, right?
in-home care,
Right.
they're alive with us today and hugging their grandchildren. So COVID taught people a lot of things. We got to be prepared.
There were a lot of COVID lessons.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking, is there a limit to the amount of money that you can use to either buy or refinance under a reverse mortgage? Is there an upper limit?
Yes, there's actually an upper value because limit is based on age.
Right.
But the upper value was just raised to a little over 1.1 million. I mean, again, people look at reverse mortgage and go, isn't that for poor people? Isn't that for people that have no money? No, it's not. Well, we do help people in low income, but 1.1 million. But get this, we have a proprietary product now. When I say we, the reverse mortgage world, that goes up to 4 million. And if you think people buying $4 million houses wouldn't like to do it without a payment is something crazy, you're wrong. People in that age bracket want to save money too.
So that's the value of the property they're buying, or that's the value of the amount of money they can get under the reverse?
The value of the property they're buying.
Okay.
I closed on a mortgage about 6 months ago in Colorado. It was a $2 million cash sale. And this great couple in their late 60s fell in love with a $3 million house. I mean, they were just going by it with the realtor, went, oh my God, it was on a mountain and yada, yada, yada. And how much? $3 million. And these people could literally afford to take another $1 million out of their account and write the check.
Wow.
And they went, we'll stick with the two. Oh my God, we love this house. And the realtor took one of my classes in Colorado on the HECM for purchase and went, wait a minute, I think we can do this with $2 million down. Well, I don't want a $10,000 mortgage payment. What are you, crazy? Rates are in the sevens. No, there is no payment on this mortgage.
Right.
We closed on that.
Wow.
And they got their $3 million house. I mean, again, that's a rare example, but imagine people coming down here now and going, I have $1 million. I'd like to live on Bel Air Beach. Yeah, I don't think so.
Right.
Not unless you're going to be in the guest quarters. Yeah.
Right. I can clean the house. It's fine.
Yeah, I can clean the house. Yes.
I can live there to be the cleaning person.
Yes.
So
Exactly. And there's no shame in that game either, guys.
That's
I'm
right.
just saying.
no. So
Let me ask this though. What are some of the ongoing responsibilities? Once I've taken the reverse loan itself, is there certain things that I need to keep in mind?
Yeah,
as
there
part
are
of that
three
process?
things. I mean, 3.5. And what's amazing, again, because people think of reverse mortgages as this mystery, it's the same damn three things that you obligate yourself for when you take a normal mortgage. Pay your real estate taxes, keep your homeowner's insurance current. Of course, if there is an HOA, you should pay that because they have no sense of humor and they'll lien your house. And then, of course, there's something called pride of ownership. That's literally written into a standard mortgage as well. Not that Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or FHA have somebody, knocking on your door going, hey, why don't you have a kitchen sink?
Well, yeah, that's
But
kind of important.
it's pay your taxes and insurance, have some pride of ownership, keep your HOA current, and as long as you do that, it is virtually impossible for you to lose your home with a reverse mortgage. You can't outlive it because we don't have loan terms. This is not a 15-year loan or 20-year or 30-year.
Right.
It's when the last borrower dies. So if the youngest borrower was 62 and dad, and the oldest borrower was 65, let's say dad dies 30 years later, he was 95. Mom dies a few years after that when she's 95, then the term was 33 years. There is no term. You can't outlive it. Just pay your taxes and insurance. That's your only obligations.
Can you do a reverse if one borrower qualifies by age but the other doesn't?
Yes, if they're a married couple or if they can do that. Now remember, my loan amount is based on the youngest borrower. So we do many times, dad is 65, mom is 60. So instead of lending those people like 33%, probably lending them like 30, because we're basing the amount on the youngest borrower. And again, why? Because we want that borrower to live there after the older borrower dies. Of course, if the dad is 88 and the mom is 32, that's a different situation altogether.
It's a situation some of us might like to be in eventually.
Yes, but that 88-year-old doesn't need a reverse mortgage because he's rich.
Right.
Yeah, so it never comes up.
Right. Okay. Well, cool. As we kind of get to the end of today's episode, anything more, George?
I mean, for me, I would like to admit that maybe I'm a little, off, a few years from this conversation, but it's good to know. I think it's, again, as someone who's, older, these are conversations you need to think about. No one talks about like, what are all the options? It's kind of like save as much, put in the 401k, do what you got to do to get to retirement. And then people worry, like, do I have enough? Will I have enough itself? It's like, if I don't have $5 million, it sounds like this is a nice option. Yeah. This is an alternative.
Realtors need to learn about this. Builders need to learn about this. And even using you as an example, George, who's decades away from a reverse mortgage. And quite frankly, I hope you or Sean never need a reverse mortgage. I mean, if you don't need one, you don't get one.
Right.
I hope you're both millionaires when you retire. But you were just saying at the beginning of the podcast how aggravating this has been, and for you and your wife. Now imagine being in your mid-60s, retiring, the easy part of life, and going through what you're going through right now.
Right.
And then you mentioned another great thing. Again, the number one fear of seniors in America today, please, all your listeners, Google this. For like 30, 40 years, the number one fear for somebody in their 60s and 70s in life. I mean, there are Harvard, surveys about this, everything. Number one fear was death. I mean, oh my God, I've got my Social Security. I'm getting older. I'm a little overweight. My doctor says I got to do this. I got to look at my mortality. Until 6 years ago. Now the number one fear in the United States of America for people above the age of 62 is running out of money before they die.
Yeah.
And again, that's another very sad note to the greatest country in the history of the world, that our moms and dads and grandmothers and grandfathers and aunts and uncles are more worried about money than they are death. I mean, you got to let that sink in.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
That's
just sad.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, wow. So it's just to end on a high note, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
To depress
happy
the
note,
hell
guys.
out of
Happy
all
note.
of your audience. Yes, that's
Well, let's do end on a high note. I do want to bring up our longtime friend, our longtime sponsor, Sam Cohen with Attorneys First Insurance. Thank you, Sam, for sponsoring, for your support of the show. Sam writes errors and omissions insurance malpractice coverage for attorneys and title companies all over the greatest country on earth. So if you are a new attorney or title company or an existing attorney or title company and you have questions about your malpractice coverage, you can contact Sam at attorneysfirst.com. Also want to mention for me and George, the Crushing Debt Patreon page. If you want to show us a little bit of love, all that money will go back into the show. Let's see, when this comes out, we will be 1 day away from the December 8th More Entrepreneur Summit. So that will be tomorrow if you are listening to this on the day it comes out. If you're listening to it after December 8, you will have missed the window, and so you'll have to just catch us at the next summit. The other thing, which we probably should mention, George, you know what episode number this is?
I feel like it's not number 1, that's for sure.
It's not number 1.
Huge. Is it 400? I think that's the big number.
Episode 400.
Nicely done, brother.
So we've made it to episode 400.
Congratulations.
Wow, I'm tired.
Big time
You're too young to
accomplishment.
be
It's a
tired.
nice whole number,
Yeah.
divided by 2 and all that good stuff you can do. It's not a primary number, but it's definitely a good
Not a
nice whole
primary number. So what? Our next
But
big
good job, buddy.
Our next big one is what? 420.
No,
420
401.
indeed.
That's our next big milestone.
Yes.
We'll do something for 420.
Well, it's any day that's 420 is a good day. So it's, but we'll definitely we'll have some really good jokes and Tostitos and nachos for that day.
Yes.
There you go.
You'll weed out the problems on episode 420.
I'm sure we will. So hopefully we end up getting there after some of these shows.
Congratulations,
and
and
comments.
let's get to 420.
So I think that'll do it for this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. Thank you again, Mike Banner,
Thank
for
you
being
as
on the
always.
show.
Always a pleasure.
And we will talk to you next week in episode 401.